Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Well, I have created this channel with the goal to share any knowledge that I have in CAD design, rendering, and just design in general. As a purpose for this video and the following videos that are going to come is to share what I did while I did the CAD models and while I'm learning this new software which is called Solidworks. The idea is that I strongly believe that SolidWorks can be used for creating complex geometry, just like other design complex surfacing software on the market, such as Alias from Autodesk. And we don't need to pay that much money to achieve the same level of surfacing. I mean, over £4,000 for having beautiful surfaces in Alias. It's quite a steep amount of money that one would need to pay just so that we have good things for our clients. I don't think we need to pay that much. SolidWorks costs around £10 per month. I think it's below £10, and I believe we can achieve exactly the same. Maybe we need to do some sacrifices around for that, but that's perfectly fine. I would gladly do the sacrifices instead of paying this amount of money. Now, this is not a step-by-step tutorial, and the goal is just to share general principle of these surfaces that I will create, or how I am thinking while I'm creating them, just as you see on the screen. That means that you will hear me only in a few moments, or only in the moments where there is something that I would consider is necessary to be discussed. And in some moments I will say nothing and just let you observe what is happening. So if you like what you're seeing, or if you believe is useful, please like and subscribe, and no matter what, just share whatever you think about what you're seeing in the comments. I would be very grateful to see any comments, and to see what is your opinion about what you're seeing. Now, if we look at the design that we have on the screen, it isn't much really. It's a simple sketch, nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated. But the goal was not really to create the most complex and fancy design out there just to showcase how good I am at design or anything like that. The goal was to create, or to have something simple so that we can actually be able to learn something from it. Also, another thing is that I am starting to learn the software at this moment. I am having quite some experience in CAD design software using CATIA. So it's a lot of years of me using CATIA, but at this moment I'm trying to use SolidWorks for design purposes, not necessarily CAD design. That means that during the video you will see also my mistakes abound, and you will be able to. So without wasting any more time, let's dive into it. All right, so let's see what we have in here. Right, so we have the first assembly. At this moment I am thinking to introduce a new component. So having a new component, I am adding a component only for blueprints. Interestingly, blueprints can be added into SolidWorks only into a sketch. So no sketch, no blueprints. right? So it takes a while to load a photo into the sketch, but after that you can resize it. Now the good part about this is that you can actually resize it or use real life dimensions when you resize the picture. So that's really cool, because in other software, what I usually do, I create a box and give it dimensions, and after that adjust the blueprints based on that. But at least that's nice. I'm trying to make a sketch, just to make sure that the dimensions of the pictures are actually the ones that is said in there. Almost not believing it. That is that easy. That's really nice that we can do that with SolidWorks. Right, at this moment I'm adjusting the sketch to be more to the center of the screen. And I'm starting to make the first objects or pieces of geometry or surfaces into the first part. So I'm creating a straight line along the line of the object. I will use that line constantly to make sure, or to create planes around and create new sketches or new curves for the new surfaces. Creating the top curve, I'm creating generally very large curves and very large surfaces, so that when I start trimming them or cutting them, and if I want to adjust them later on, they don't fall because they don't touch each other or whatever. So that's the reason why I keep adding very large surfaces. At some point I will give up on creating such large surfaces, because they're it's quite hard in SolidWorks to see when you want to see what's going on, simply because they're too large. If you want to make them large, you can make them afterwards by extending the surfaces. Now I'm creating the second curve, and the second curve that will give me the initial surface, the top surface. I want the top surface to be slightly curved, to have a radius on it, let's say. And right there in the middle, I am creating these curves and using a different line, so that I am aligning the curve, and to be 100% sure that it is in tangency, and it is in tangency with its mirror. So instead of creating a big surface with a crown in the middle or anything like that, I am creating only the half of it, and I am trying here to adjust its curvature by using dimension. Couldn't find a better way at that moment in time to do that. Yep, and I'm creating the plane so that I can create a sketch following the same logic, creating a line in the middle that will help me create a curve that will match in tangency when I will do the mirroring, so that I don't see any, so you don't see any lines right there in the middle after you do the mirroring. Second curve for the surface. And here I am trying to make sure that the two curves are coincident, so that I can create a surface. At that moment of time, I didn't know that as long as the two planes are intersecting each other, the surface would be created, so it wouldn't be required. So the same logic is applied all over again, creating two sets of curves, not two sets, two curves that will give a surface. That is, all the surfaces shouldn't be completely straight, so I'm trying to avoid that. In CAD design, usually you have straight surfaces, but in design, usually you don't. All the time you want to have a crown, you want to have a curvature. No surface is straight, unless intentionally it must be straight. But in this moment, I didn't see any reason why to keep them straight, and you will see the result. It will look far better without completely straight surfaces. Adjusting the lighting around, trying to find an environment that can help me visualize those curved surfaces, just slightly curved surfaces. It takes a bit of time until you find an environment, but luckily Solidworks does give quite some environments to play with, so just continuing with what I have at this moment and creating the curve for the base of the object. Again, big curve. I'm trying now, as you can see, trying to reduce them more, not to keep them that large. I'm trying to see where I need to put these curves and how to make them. Oh, there you go. So here I'm trying to position a point onto a curve. It cannot be picked, so you have to introduce a value in percentage, for example, so that you can so that a point can be on a curve. But I'm using the plane that I created, making sure that it is intersecting with the curve constructed before. And here I realized that yeah, I need a top view, so I'm creating a box just to keep the overall dimensions of the object. And now I am introducing the second sketch, which would be my top view. And adjust it roughly so that I can have a good idea about its dimensions. Well, new part, new plane right there in the middle. And now I can finally, yes, I start to adjust the curves. That will give me the bottom part of this spaceship. Still struggling with the views and switching them from top to bottom and all that, but it's not that much of a big deal. It's bearable, it's quite alright. Again, trying to match them, interestingly, it's not very easy to recognize, or the software doesn't recognize easily in 3D where the object would be and where you want to have the second curve coincident. So that's the reason why I'm creating another construction line, so that I can make them coincident. Again, at that moment of time I didn't know that as long as they intersect, the two planes in which the curves are constructed intersect to each other, the surface would be constructed regardless. Now there you go, I'm starting to create the fillets for the big surfaces. I am creating them in curvature. I think all my fillets, big or small, are done in curvature. I just, especially for the big surfaces, it's very important for the transition to be very smooth. And I find that tangency, continuity is not smooth enough. So I'm trying to create the base of the tail in there. Then curved surface, curved, again, a curve created for the surface. This time with the curvature in a different direction, or with the crown in a different direction. I'm trying to experiment a bit, to leave things to be a little bit different rather than just following a pattern and following the, that was bent in a direction, the other one could be bent in the opposite direction, just to see if there is anything interesting out of that. Since the sketches were not really saying much about it, I can use that. Just realized that I cannot really see much because of the big plane created, so I reduce it in size so that I can see my own sketch. Now I'm adjusting the curves so that I can have the surface is adjusted. I don't want too much of a crown on the surfaces. I want to have a transition, but I don't want them flat, but I don't want to be too exaggerated, really. Another big fillet for the second part of the surfaces. Trying to match them from the top. I want to be more aggressive towards the end, to be quite thin towards the end, but again, I try to avoid to be right to pass over the middle plane, because then I will have to apply the symmetry, and I try to be careful, to be mindful about that. I'm cutting the big surfaces just to be able to see what is going on, just checking to see how they are. I don't like the fillet in the left that is going towards the back, but I realize that, well, it's not going to really influence my model, so I leave them be. Again, cutting them just to be able to understand from a different perspective how these surfaces are curved. Yes, and I start to adjust them at this moment, being able to see how they are. And we are reaching the end. So I'm cutting at this moment surfaces around just to understand how they are. And that's kind of it. In the next video, we will be able to see how to adjust the surfaces, and we will continue to create more and more, including on the top part of this spaceship, until we will finalize it. So please stay with me, and like and subscribe, and please leave anything in the comments. Any comment would be very useful. Thank you very much.